Thanks for coming, everyone. Agenda call to order. Can you do roll call? Somebody?
Oh.
We don't have Heather? Or do you want to do roll call?
I can do member Winterhalter,
Is present.
member Evans is not here tonight.
Absent.
Member Guy,
Yep.
member Edwards. Member Weiner,
Here.
and member Paul is here.
Yes,
Member Curtis is here.
I'm here.
Yes. And Anita is here.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sure. All right.
Okay, so we'll start with a moment of silence and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any comments on the agenda by the members? Before we get started. On that first thing, we have the minutes from the last meeting. Do we have comments or a motion to approve? I was not in attendance.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve the minutes from October the 27th, 2022.
So we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All nay. Motion carries. And so next we have plan review Aronimink Golf Club.
In media and representing Aronimink Golf Club with me tonight, John Kluver, project architect, Brett McKay, project civil engineer from Chester Valley Engineers, and we have Bill Berry, Aronimink's current president, in attendance. So last month in October, Aronimink filed with the township a preliminary / final land development plan for phase 2. So, and we're gonna have the architect run through what phase 2 is in a moment. So as a reminder, the Planning Commission knows you recommend approval of phase 1 plan, which includes the golf learning center, renovation and expansion of the golf patio, and the extension of the driving range tees at your June meeting. We then presented phase 1 plan to the Board of Supervisors in July and received approval of that. So Aronimink's still in a phase of finishing those plans. In particular, I think Chester Valley and Pannoni are pretty much there in terms of the details for the plan set, and the lead time item, which we mentioned back in June, was the NPDS permit from the County Conservation District. So we're still chasing after that, but hopefully we're going to have that in the next several weeks. The original plan, as I mentioned to you when we were here last time, was to try to be under construction in November. So November's coming and going pretty quickly here. So we're not going to meet that deadline, but the goal is still to get under construction for that phase 1, those phase 1 projects as soon as we possibly can. So we're here tonight to show you what the phase 2 plan, and again, sort of an overview. When I appeared for the township supervisors over a year ago, the idea was to try to do all this work in a single land development set. Because of various schedules, that wasn't possible. So I split it. So phase 1 and phase 2. This is phase 2. So has not yet been reviewed by the township engineer, has not yet been reviewed by the Delaware County Planning Commission. We just missed the deadline. So we're going to get that review in December, next month. We do have a plan review by Carl Keene, the township fire marshal. And as I understand it, the neighbors have been notified by the township. So given where we are with the review letters, what we propose to do is just have a brief presentation by the project architect and by Brett McKay, the project civil engineer, get any feedback from you, get any initial thoughts from staff. If there's any questions from the audience, we're happy to try to answer those questions. And then the goal would be to get those review letters, hopefully get revised plans and responses, and then try to get back in front of you in the next couple of months. And at that point, we would be looking for the planning commission recommendation, but nothing tonight other than just an informational. All right, that please, board. John?
Good evening, I'm John Clover from Voith and McTavish Architects, and happy to give you an orientation on phase 2 project. If we could call up that. Is it possible to maybe make it a much smaller to fit the whole slide screen? Okay, I think that will be, it doesn't, it's, can maybe make it like a 90% fit. Okay, great. So just for orientation, the clubhouse right here. The projects that we're talking about today are for a relocation and expansion of the pool area, and then some additional courts in the brackets area. If we could go to the next one. So just to give a general feel for the enlarged campus, go to the next slide. The pool will be shifting from its current location to the south of the building called the Belmont Building, to the east of it into a downhill position. And this right now, the pool is very dated. It's in dire need of replacement. And they are very landlocked by the parking, access drive, and trap lodge here. So by moving to this area here will allow them to expand the facilities to better serve their membership. Next slide. For the rackets, the goal is to provide additional types of courts for the members and some additional platform tennis. We'll get more into the details of that in the next couple slides. Okay, so starting with the pool area, as I mentioned, the relocation would be to the east, building off of their existing Belmont building. The existing, go to the next slide, please. So the major components are the removal of all the pools and hardscaping in that area, and turning that into a green open lawn area. Next. Then building of 3 pools, an 8-lane lap pool, a diving well, and then a children's pool. And that main pool, it's called a lap pool, but it's really the main pool for the members. In addition, there is a hardscaped area around, some roofed pergola areas as part of that. And then some green area in the immediate area. And then like the various type of support facilities that you would typically have with a pool, you know, a small snack bar, changing rooms, office for the staff. On the Belmont building is a 2-level building, so this pool is at the lower level. At the main level or upper level, if you could go to the next slide. We're putting on small wing additions to provide some additional dining and bar facilities as well as outdoor terraces. The next slide. And then the area over here where the trap shooting is going to be untouched. Moving to the next portion of the project. Before I do that, this is just an early rendering that was done of the facility, just to give a general vision for what is, you know, very much in keeping with the nature of the building that's there and the club's facilities. This was an earlier version. The pool is actually rotated 90 degrees from what you're seeing on this rendering, for those who were squinting carefully at the plans, trying to figure out why this looks different. Okay, the next image takes us over to the courts area. So you see currently they have a number of tennis courts and platform tennis courts. Go to the next image. So this scope includes adding 2 platform tennis courts. One is in the grass area to the north of the existing. The second one goes into the parking lot area. And actually, if you go back one slide, you'll see it's in this zone right here. So this is kind of a weak connection between these two levels of parking with just a little drive connection. So we still would have the ability for people to come in, loop around here or loop around here. We just would be lacking the connection between those two parking lots now. Next, go down. Okay. So this image is just showing that location where this new court would be added over here. Go down. One of the existing tennis courts will be converted into pickleball. Pickleball is a much smaller court. You can actually fit 4 pickleball onto the size of 1 tennis court. So we'll just work with that existing paved area. Could go to the next one. Then the adjacent tennis court will be converted into padel. Padel is a newer sport and not a lot of people have heard of it. It's kind of like a combination of tennis and squash, for a lack of a better term. You can play the ball off the walls, all the rage. So this will be require some expansion of the existing paving in that area there, but basically is in the location of 1 tennis court. And then finally, to make up for the loss of the 2 tennis courts, we could go to the next image. We would be building 1 additional tennis court. Right now, there's a single tennis court in this area. We'll just add additional court surface there to make it a double court similar to the others that are there. We go to the last image then. This kind of gives just an overall summary of the different changes to the rackets area. That's part of the project, and that is the 30,000-foot view of the phase 2 project.
Will you be adding any parking where you're putting in the paddle?
The parking count, I think, is above.
We're still well above.
How many spaces? Probably what, 12 or something like that?
All the numbers. Close to that area.
Does the green area that you're creating where the existing pools are being removed have any designated use or just open space?
It might be used for an occasional event or something like that, but it's basically just an open lawn area. Part of the reason for the relocation is creating a better visual connection between the banquets area of the clubhouse to the valley below.
What is the total disturbed area, basically? Roughly.
Total disturbed area, that's you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, don't quote me, but I think it's.
So, you have submitted for an NPDS permit for phase 1, right?
Right.
Now, are you combining the two, or does it include the phase 2 for the NPDS permit, or are you submitting another application?
We'd submitted a second application that would involve phase 2.
Will DEP accept that, or?
Yeah.
Don't it?
In fact, I think DEP would rather start to apply the permits to the individual projects so that you don't continue to have running ongoing permits going. That way, when the first phase is done, they can close out that permit and then you'd be operating under a permit.
Because normally they don't like phasing.
If you go in with the project as a single project as one phase, then you can phase it, but these are actually 2 separate projects on 2 different schedules. So we're looking to do 2 separate NPDS permits.
How long do you think it'll take once you start? Assuming, normal progress.
Construction?
Yeah.
I don't know, probably at least a year.
I thought maybe because the outdoor would be, I guess the pool's a lot.
There's a
You're gonna
lot
have
of
to
moving
refill
parts
in
with a pool and whatnot that would involve a lot of construction activity. So, And you gotta phase the pool so that, you know, we can maintain the existing pools while the new ones are being built. So there's a lot of, as I say, there's a lot of moving parts, so it's not gonna be a quick construction cycle.
Then we have a letter from Carl Queen. Did he have anything that? Any distress?
No, I think most of Carl's comments are fairly straightforward. We can easily implement those.
So, okay, then we'll get an engineering letter before the December meeting. Presumably, it's all gonna.
Correct. I had spent some time looking at this application, but understanding that they were not seeking approval or a recommendation this meeting, decided to just spend a little more time with it and see if there's any input that came out of this meeting.
Is there gonna be any kind of dividing line between the shooting, like the shooting platform and the pool area?
If we can go to one of the maybe early plans or earlier images. Keep going back. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. That one's a good one. What's interesting is the topography of the site. The site actually starts to drop away. From this area going downhill to the east. And as a result, this whole area that you see in the darker line is on an elevated level. So as this land actually drops away, we're going to have a railing around this whole area here. So there'll be a pretty distinct differentiation between the two.
2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet?
More, but I mean, by the time we get down to here, we're probably in the 10 to 11 foot range.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, we'll have an above ground pool.
Right. They may not love the sound, but you know, I guess it's there today anyways. Anybody have any other? Andy, do you have any comments? You looking at it?
No,
Anything?
Eric and I did have a brief moment to talk about the potential need for conditional use because of some stormwater management facilities that are shown located in the steep slopes. The only other thing that I would add is I know in accordance with the building code, recreational facilities have to still meet accessibility requirements. So I assume that's all been accounted for.
Yeah,
There may be a little preliminary for that.
Yeah, we were planning on having one of the lifts to allow someone from a wheelchair to get to the pool and, you know, the facility.
And the grade to each facility would
Yeah,
accommodate.
it's a little tough to see here, but this portion through here is a ramp that connects the pool level. So from here to here is down about 1.5 feet. From here to here is down another 1.5 feet. There's a slope connecting them all.
Any issues with utility connections, water, sewer?
Currently, the Belmont building has water and sewer connection. We will actually have to relocate one of the sewer lines because it crosses through one of the pool areas. So that's just something we'll have to do, but we're intending to maintain the connections that the Belmont building.
And what goes on in the Belmont building? It's just kind of
Currently, it has food service on the upper level and a fitness center on the lower level. With this project, the lower level would be used for supporting the pool facilities, a small snack bar, changing rooms, office area, keep the fitness center as well. And then on the upper level would stay food service, but just expanded dining facilities. Aronimink has a sizable membership, and they're trying to provide a variety of meal experiences for them.
Public comment? Can we get your name and address, please?
Could you bring up the site plan, please, the one that was in the agenda? My name is Alex Skucas. I live at 33 Dunminning Road. And my property is uniquely situated with respect to Aronimink and this project. Now, I want to make it very clear, I appreciate that they're having this meeting. I don't object to the project. What I am here to talk about is a possible stormwater issue. When you bring up when you bring up the site plan, these properties here are along Paper Mill Road, isn't shown. And my property is actually across the street from Paper Mill Road. Dunminning is way over here, but my property fronts from 33 Dunminning to the back of Paper Mill Road. If you come off of St. David's and you turn on to Paper Mill Road, my property is the one with the two big ponds on your left side. Now, in this area right here, which is labeled GNB2, all the water that's collected from rain or that is groundwater runs down this tiny little creek here between numbers 15 and 17 Paper Mill Road and goes under a small culvert to one of my ponds. One of the ponds is about a quarter acre, and then it feeds another pond that's about half an acre, and that in turn feeds Darby Creek. So this does not go to Darby Creek like many of the other culverts on that road. It goes to one of my ponds, which contains koi fish and is used by St. Joe's to release turtles that they rescued. Now, the culvert, when it was sized years ago, those two ponds are actually, in a sense, artificial ponds. They have concrete retaining walls and spillways and things like that. When those were sized decades ago, they were sized for the normal groundwater runoff that we were getting and the normal kind of storms that we would have. But as you know, this is part of the whole township issue with, the microbursts and more storms. What's happening is I'm getting more and more silt into my ponds. These are very steep slopes here. Coming through here, if you walk up there, and they're starting to etch in, and every 5 or 6 years, I spend 10 grand to have that pond dredged and remove the amount of stuff in it. What's happened when we have these 1 in 10 year storms every few years now, the culvert gets clogged up, the water flows up over Paper Mill Road, and then it muds up Paper Mill Road. And I've worked with our Public Works Department. George Sheriff has been great about, if I see that the culvert is starting to get clogged up, he goes and he unclogs it. But what we figured out is that we're kind of at the limit right now for what that little culvert can hold in terms of water. If we get any more water, either rainwater, groundwater, and any runoff water coming into this zone, it's going to be a mess, not just for me financially having to dredge the pond, but the township has an issue, especially in the winter. If we get a fast melt or a big storm in the winter, it's happened on Paper Mill Road. When it floods over that culvert that gets blocked, you have an ice sheet in front of number 15 and 17 Paper Mill. If you could go to the next item, which was the landscape plan. I would just ask that when you engineer this thing, I have a great concern. I'm an electrical engineer, not a landscape engineer, so I don't know what I'm looking at here. But if whatever this is directing anyone.
One quick question. Can you just tell us what page that is so we can
That's
find it in
called
front of? what?
Landscape
is that-
plan, pool area A.
That's a slow down so we can catch up.
Yeah.
I think it's the second to last page. 16-21196. Yeah, I think that's the second to last. Got that thing.
But when I saw it, I can't tell if it's directed at, GMB two, the area.
Soil, that's right.
But it looks like it's runoff water, and if it's water that's gonna be running during a storm, then that would be an issue, and I would hope that we could somehow address it. George Sherritts knows about this problem because he's going out there to come to that culvert all the time. I don't want to hold up the project. I'm willing to work with the folks from Aronimink, come up with some solution, but you're gonna have a problem if you direct any water into that little space. If you send it to the other culverts, they actually go straight into Darby Creek and then you're good. But that one particular culvert is an issue. And if you want to walk it with me, I'm happy to do it. If you want to see the issue, happy to show you my fish. Thank you.
Alex,
you.
can you spell your last name?
No. Skucas, Skucas.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Andy, are you aware in the mix on that, or is that news to you, or?
I think I did speak to George briefly about it today. I mean, what I can tell you, you're here to sit, Eric would probably be.
I talked to George. George called me to.
Okay.
Explanation than I would, but I think that the applicant knows they've got to comply with the stormwater management plans. And obviously, I'm sure they're willing to work with the property owner, Mr. Skucas, as well. The other thing that I know we have it identified on is our MS4 list of priorities to address. So in both ways, this problem is going to be looked at.
Now, Paper Mill Road is a township road, right?
I'm sorry.
Paper Mill Road is a township street.
Yes.
But I would say, and maybe you could speak to a minute, but I would say in general, this Aronimink property was developed before we had our current stormwater code. So there is not currently stormwater systems there that would be implemented as part of this. And maybe if you just want to explain, just kind of walk through maybe your explanation of you have the basin and what you're anticipating.
Yeah, on what actually shows on the grading plan. Basically, what really what we have here, it's a little hard to see on this plan, but that's the stormwater management. Like the area. Now by township board. So any fact. What we're showing here is actually a level spreader. Takes that water, takes whatever water is discharged.
What's the length on the level spreader? And then, my follow-up question is that, can you distribute it over a wider area? Just that it would seem that
We can
better.
certainly take a look at that.
Is it, are the other two culverts you referenced, then I would assume they're gonna be left and right of this as I look at it, or one up top and one below, so if you can move it heading in that direction.
I guess the other thing too, we have.
Can you please speak to the microphone?
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah. So, I mean,
Press the button. Till it's okay.
so, if we can try to hit those culverts, we'll certainly look at it and see what we can do. But if there's no direct connection, order to flow from our site. of the state. Say we have to. But as I say, we'll take a look at it, we'll walk around.
I would just add. I just don't want to have someone have. They build a new, not have a pump of water and still. That's all.
Well, we'll ask in the next meeting.
Thank you.
It's on, we've got it on our radar screen.
What is the distance between the level spreader and the culvert? Roughly.
Well, I know when we were looking at the phase one, we were like, I guess this might be 700.
How much again?
700 feet.
700. So by then, the water will concentrate again, so far away from the level spreader.
And
So
the
really,
way the water flows, there are on-site wells and whatnot naturally. Like the water.
right, my point is that so far away, the level spreader will not have that much of an effect.
It will certainly change the flow coming out of this area, but by the time you get to the street. Correct.
But that's all on your property. Right, I mean, we care either way, but yeah, I mean, it's not.
I guess the big picture though, Brett, though, is still lower rate, lower volume. That's what you have to do. Meet the township and state requirements.
Correct.
Okay, so I guess, you know, Eric and you'll kind of look at it and figure out what works, and we'll talk about it the next time.
Right, we'll wait for Eric to finish the review later, and obviously there's gonna be a laundry list of things that he's right are gonna have to work through. Obviously, we're not gonna come back before we get the county review. But probably be a couple months. Talk to Andy and Eric in terms of when we think it's appropriate to come back to the plan. Have to get on the agenda.
Okay.
I would say maybe just to speak to stormwater, so I mean, for the resident. The various components of stormwater management that we're going to be looking for is there be required to infiltrate a certain amount of water into the site, like in that basin. They need to clean up the water quality, so the water leaving the site is cleaner than it currently would be. And they have to meet the rate reduction, which means the rate of runoff that's currently leaving the site is going to have to be reduced by a certain factor. And that's where that bed absorbs a lot of that shock of the rate and then slowly dissipates it out. So we will, and the downstream conveyance, that'll be part of the review. So I would encourage the applicant, while we're thinking through the refined stormwater, be conscious of the downslope, and we'll go from there with the review.
Any other public comment? If you can give us your name and address, please.
You put that last colored slide, remember from the.
I think we get your name and address.
Sure.
Yeah.
Keep going all the way down the bottom. Right there. My name is Louis Walker and I live at 101 Millview Lane in Newtown Square. My wife Ellen is here with me and we live on Millview. So I wondered why he brought this. Now I know why. So we live on Millview Lane, which is right here approximately. And so we have a question regarding, are these courts going to be lit? These ones right here. Okay. These paddle, or what are these pickle, are they going to be lit? Will this be eliminated? And will this tennis court be eliminated? Mhm. Okay. What is the season for this particular? Is it a spring, fall?
Pickle and. So the pickle and Adele are weather sports.
Okay,
So we'll focus in the summer, but go into the fall and spring. The exact numbers.
okay, right. So it's not a winter sport as this. Okay, so it's not, you haven't determined whether these will be lit or not, or is that to be discussed? Okay. And with regard to these courts are currently illuminated, correct? So these will also be illuminated. What are the hours of the illumination during the winter?
Go to about.
Okay. So 9 p.m. during the week. What about maintenance for these particular courts? Specifically blowing of the courts at 6:37 a.m. No? I'm asking questions. That's why I came to the event. You tell me. Okay. Okay. Well, the issue we would have would be the time, if there are lights here at night, that they are extinguished. Or I don't know if there's a township code or some limit, but I think as a resident, since we have the light coming in to our house, that is something that not only us, but our other neighbors have that should be considered carefully by the township before erecting lights. Thank you.
Are the lights currently shielded or are they kind of an older version of lighting?
They're older. They're not. Whether we have them. Why I asked you, no.
Yeah, the lights in the parking lot are on all night. And I assume that's for security and for safety. But our experience has been these lights don't go off at 9 o'clock. And I don't know if I'm privy to any township regulation regarding lighting, but I've done this before in Newtown Township, and we were given restrictions for lighting of tennis courts. So I know what we have to abide by at our club. And I just want to ensure that the same rules are applying to Aronimink that we have to adhere to for our club.
I know they'd have to, yeah. I mean, they gotta.
And I would say yes, our zoning does provide provisions for outdoor lighting. For tennis courts and stadium lighting and things
We
like
did it for
that.
Marple Newtown High School when they put the new field in.
That's an example of that. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that the applicant will have to provide a plan, a lighting illumination plan showing it consistent with our ordinance as part of this application. And then we would also, at the time, prior to us issuing a CO, we would make sure that we had a photometric plan that showed that it was consistent with what was originally provided.
And what's the greenery, the trees at the edge of that new paddle court that's planned? Or is that a 6-foot hedge or is it looks like it's a pretty big?
Big trees. I will say our ordinance limits, it speaks to the property line and glare beyond it. And it seems like it's a fairly large distance. I don't know what it is, But what our code limits it to is 0.2 foot candles at the property.
And that's one of the pending review comments I have for this letter would be the providing of the lighting plan for compliance with the code, yes.
And then they would have to maintain the landscaping, obviously, if a bunch of the trees died because of a. And it
There's a lot of
changed.
different ways they can accommodate that. There's lighting features by shielding it, by, timing certain things.
Yeah, I remember the football field, they came in with a whole presentation on it.
Have you driven down St. David's Road lately? Because you'll see from Glendale all the way down past Millview, there a lot of trees removed. And I don't know if there's some permitting process for that, but I don't know when this photograph was taken. But over the last couple of weeks, a massive strip has been removed of the trees along St. David's from Glendale down past Millview, almost to, I don't know, at the edge of their property line over there.
We haven't been made aware of that, and I do know that we have a shade tree ordinance that speaks to tree removal. So we'll have somebody go out and take.
I
Thank you.
do know that I've been in contact with the club operation man, Ash. I know he's been working with John Hosbeck.
Oh, he had.
Yes.
I apologize.
I mean, well,
I
check with
just-
John, make sure. I'm just sort of, I know that they've had those conversations, but I don't know whether that's part of the same program or not, but I know that.
It is. That's the program I'm speaking of. So I spoke, my office hasn't been
Right.
notified of. So if John is handling it, that's wonderful.
Anybody else on the commission have thoughts, comments? No. Oh, well, I think we'll see you in a month or two, whenever you're ready to come back in. And,
Appreciate your time and appreciate your comments from the neighbors.